will is something that, as a parent to another potential parent and or parent, I suggest that you make a living will, and that you have it in there what you would like to have your daughter either be in the room, depending on the age. At the time that I did my living will, my daughter was only 4, so I initially did it so she couldn't be in the room. I didn't want her to see anything that would traumatize her. It was a very hard decision. Then I changed the will to allow her to be in the room because I felt it's a rite of passage. This is what I mean by the personal choices that nobody else can make for you, and nobody can tell you whether they're right or wrong. They're only a decision. It's between you and your children, and it's nothing that nobody else can do. The problem is there's too many other outside influences that are trying to tell people what's right or wrong between a parent and their child. HIV does not separate the parent from the child. It's nothing more than a disease like cancer, like MS, like anything else. The problem is we're being stigmatized and discriminated against as if somehow we're different, but we're not. We're still parents. Looking at that as well, you then need to look at what stage is your illness at, how is your CD4 count, how is your viral load, can I sustain what I'm doing, is my health holding up under the pressures of being in post-counseling for pregnancy, do I need to be looking at these different things. What's interesting to note is that on the flip side to that is my daughter was 6 months old when I had her for 2.5 years. I raised her by myself as a father, a single dad with HIV and going to college to be a computer technician. It was a challenge. That's putting it lightly. It was a challenge because you'd be surprised how many mothers look at you with disgust or suspicion. I shouldn't say disgust, I should say suspicion. When you're walking out of the park and you've got a 7 or 8 month old child screaming because they know they're leaving the park, they don't want to go home. They're screaming at the top of their lungs. You're carrying them and they're kicking, they're screaming, and you've got their baby, you got the baby bag, you got the carriage, you know, but you're still a male. And as you see, I'm not exactly a tiny male, so it makes people nervous. Those were some of my experiences as being a father, let alone having to piss in a jar to prove that I didn't use drugs, having to do a psychological evaluation to prove I was mentally sound to care for my daughter, and having to do parenting classes for the Ministry of Children and Family, all to have them come to court and say what a good dad I was, you know. And the whole time my daughter was never at risk. She's never been hurt on my watch. And these are different things that happen as we look into this. Sorry, I strayed a bit off topic there. And it's important to note that that once you go through that initial stage of getting your living will in place and making sure that you understand that, I think the rest is really trying to understand how to be a parent with HIV, and that incorporates your nutrition and adherence still to your antiretrovirals. And what's even harder is trying to raise your child to fall in line with the statistics, to fall in line with the statistics that 55% of Canadians don't want them in the same classroom. Even though my daughter's HIV negative, because I'm HIV positive, they don't want her in the classroom here in Canada. That's Statistics Canada's own facts. So that's troublesome. And then, is there any services here for me to talk to? My wife and I, we talk to each other. But who else do we have to talk to? So we've turned to this channel. We've opened it up and we were saying, please, post, email, give us ideas, tell us what's on your mind. You know, you can send it to me privately, cannabis07@shaw.ca or wilcox2007@shaw.ca. Please email, ask a question, you know, tell me your story. If you'd like me to tell your story using your name, friggin' Bob Marley, I'll do it. It's not a problem. This is about dissemination of information, empowering one another to act. Act Up started. You know, I'm proud of our history. I'm proud to say I'm an HIV/AIDS activist because we're world renowned. We're feared. We're feared because of the fact that at one time we were the ones that would chain ourselves to the legislature, we would chain ourselves to police or police cruisers or whatever the case may be, okay, to make things so that the media understood the importance of services in education and the prevention of HIV, AIDS, and hepatitis C in our community. This has been lost. This has fallen by the wayside. In the presidential debate, has anybody heard anything about HIV, AIDS? Now I'm going to get into some of the statistics here, and you're going to be a little bit alarming, that they haven't went down. There's 2,500 plus people being infected in Canada every single year. 2,500 every year. How the hell is that we got it under control again? There's no leveling off, okay? Unless we're going to accept that 2,500 people in Canada every single year are going to continue to get infected. Because of those 2,500, there's probably another 2,500 that aren't reported. Okay, so you're looking at 5,000. So there's also the 1 person to 5 people ratio. So every person that has HIV can potentially spread it to 5 more. Okay, depending on their promiscuous actions. Something to look at. And I believe the numbers are a lot higher and a lot more staggering. Speaking of numbers, let's get into the epidemic update for 2008, as they like to call it. The essential findings is that the number of people living with HIV/AIDS in 2007 was 33 million. 33 million worldwide. Okay, so this is by no means a small epidemic. This is, if anything, a pandemic. We're still choosing to just call it an epidemic. If we actually look on the map, it's pretty scary that North America has the highest stats at 1.3 million. Okay, of the total, 33 million in the world, we got 1.3 million in North America alone. That's a scary thought too. The number of children living with HIV in 2007, 2 million, 90% of whom live in sub-Saharan Africa. So 2 million or 90%, 90% of whom live, 2 million. 2 million people of the 33 million, okay, are infants living with HIV/AIDS. So again, families, okay, family services, education, support, we can go on. We can turn a song out of this. The number of new infections in North America estimated at 54,000 in 2007, while deaths from AIDS in the same region totaled 23,000. 23,000 deaths in 2007 in the same region. But only 54, that's almost half of the population of HIV positive people reported in 2005 or 2006, those were the estimates of the total number of HIV positive people. Half of them are dead. Half of them are gone. So saying we live for another 50 years, that statistic right there, this is, Health Canada's own information. It's very confusing for me to say that there's now going to be 2 million people, okay, and that the number of infections estimated at 54,000 in 2007, there's 54,000 new infections, while 23,000 of those people in this region have also died in 2007. So for the 54,000 estimated in 2007, and this is North America, sorry, not Canada. This is a North American estimate. So Canada, America, Mexico, North American estimate for 54,000 new people. While in the same region, totaled 23,000 deaths. Okay, they passed on. So that's a pretty staggering number for me. And again, this is where education